I recently released the final episode of my series on Linux namespaces, where I teach junior developers how to build their own Linux containers without using Docker. Some people asked if I could summarize my final episode in just a few minutes and explain the relationship between namespaces, containers, Docker, and Kubernetes. So here we go. In really simple terms, container technologies like Docker use a feature in Linux called namespaces to create isolated environments for resources like file system, processes, networks, system identifiers, system resources, and permissions. You can choose to isolate one or several of these resources at a time. If you isolate all of them at once, then you've created what everyone likes to call a container. A container simulates the functionality of an operating system, and the container can run concurrently on top of your host operating system. In the final episode of my Linux namespace series, I ran the code in this script here to create a container. Let me do it again right now. Let's set up the bridge network. We're going to download Alpine, and then we set up all the namespaces. Then we're going to need the process ID of the child namespace. We're going to do some networking, and then we will mount the directory with Alpine. And now we have our container here. In the final episode of our Linux namespace series, we repeated all these steps to create a second container. And then later, if we choose to, we can run apps inside these containers. As you can see, that was a lot of steps. Container technologies like Docker perform all these steps for you. Docker also throws in all the bells and whistles like image repositories, standardization, performance, caching, security, reporting, and many other things. When you have hundreds of containers distributed across many data centers, using a bash script like this to manage your infrastructure would be crazy. Imagine trying to use these bash scripts to execute container operations like healing, replication, load balancing, rolling updates, and so on and so on. It would be completely impractical. Even if you were to use Docker on its own without anything else, in the context of many containers distributed over numerous servers, Docker would feel just as crude as these bash scripts. And this is where orchestration tools come in. Orchestration tools like Kubernetes take container technologies even further by giving you ways to manage large-scale deployments of containers across many servers. In the near future, I will be hosting some online workshops to teach Kubernetes. But for now, I will summarize by saying this. You use Linux namespaces to create Linux containers. Docker containers are Linux containers. And Kubernetes helps you manage large-scale deployments of containers. If you want to learn more, then check out our series on Linux namespaces. The final episode here is publicly available, and we learn to build a container from scratch. The remaining episodes go into the details of each namespace and is for our paid members. If you want to learn more about each namespace, or if you want to financially support our channel, then consider becoming a member. And for everyone else, if you found this content useful, give us a like and a subscribe. Thank you everyone for your support, and we'll see you in the next video.